For a lot of topics. So I'm going to do a really short intro, but this guy is fabulous. He gives back, and he is probably the nicest guy in the world. And I'm so excited because if you want a night where you're going to learn how to hustle and get your business to grow, this is the king. So listen tonight, we're going to talk about that a little bit because I was thrilled talking about his story and how he hustles to get things rolling. It's awesome. So he started Proof Eyewear. You saw him on Shark Tank saying, I don't think so. We'll see how good of a decision that ended up being for him, which you probably already know. And here at StartupGrind, we have a special tradition. So I want all of you to take your feet. And our speakers are insanely busy, and you guys know it. They've been through the grind, and Brooks especially, he's got about 20 things on his plate with helping startups and nonprofits and his own businesses. So let's give him a huge round of applause for taking time to be here with us. Brooks Dame. Thank you, thank you.
This work? Okay. Goodness, I think. Not move too much.
These are some serious seats, though.
These are fun.
Where's August? Okay, I'm going to turn mine on. You keep yours on.
I don't know if I'm, okay, we'll try.
August.
Back here.
Where are you? Hey, stand up. Okay, these chairs, August is an artist, so are these not cool chairs?
August, I don't know if I can afford a chair like this, but we need to talk because,
There's some wood on there.
yeah, no, I love this one.
They really are cool, so hey, thank you. Okay, I'm talking to Brooks, but I'm going to yell, so this is very awkward for me. I'm not used to this.
It's okay.
Okay, so we usually start out and we talk about our speaker's background. So if you'll go over for us, growing up, woodwork in your veins, and your grandpa. I really like the story about your grandpa, and then how does that lead into the ski poles and into the eyeglasses?
Okay, so I grew up in the wood industry. My grandfather started a sawmill, and he was the epitome of hustling. He was just, he's a hustler. He just got out and worked hard, never graduated from high school, and got a little bit of money and raised enough money to buy a truck. So he was hauling coal and wood and different things. And he did a couple loads for a guy that owed him, basically got to the point where he owed him some money. And the guy couldn't afford to pay him back. So he said, hey, I've got some woodworking equipment. Will you take that as payment? And my grandpa said, I guess something's better than nothing. Took that and said, what am I going to do with this? You know? And so he figured out how to operate it and run it and started running wood products, you know, just on the side. And so he'd actually go and pull the edgings off of the boards from larger sawmills and then make them into small profile moldings. And then he'd throw them in his truck, haul down to Southern California and sell them to the manufactured home industry. And so that's kind of how he got his start. And he'd always say, if I had a good sales day, I'd go stay in a hotel. And if I had a bad one, I'd sleep on the bed of my truck. And so he was just the type of guy that would get down and wake up early and go to bed late and like the epitome of an entrepreneur. And so he grew that business into a multi-million-dollar business and passed it on to his sons, and still in the family today, and pretty successful, the largest molding distributor to the Home Depot, one of the largest millwork operations in the U.S. And so, so to your comment, I've always had a love for wood. I was talking to some of the guys in the group, and I was talking about the floor in our store. And that was, the heat in there was by design, just so you know. I mean, I wanted you guys to get a feel of what it's like starting up your startup in your garage, because that's exactly what we do with Proof. And summer times we'd roll up the door, I'd roll in, and my brother was like, dude, turn off your brights, I got work to do here, you know, and was working around my cars and stuff like that. And so it was hot like that in the garage. And so from there, getting into, that's kind of the background. So I grew up working in the sawmill when I was a kid. My first job was picking up cigarette butts in the parking lot, and I went back to work for the company for a while in HR. My first official policy as an HR manager was outlawing tobacco on all our campuses. And so I got a lot of heat from that, from the tobacco users, but a lot of people said, there's a purpose behind this, right? And I said, I just don't want my kids to come out here and have to pick up cigarette butts like I did. So that's just a real reason behind the policy. So anyways, fast forward, I was working in my garage trying to come up with a bamboo ski pole. I'm a big skier. Thought, this is a great idea. This is $1 million idea, right? They used to have bamboo ski poles, and I could figure out a way to make these strong and really cool, and people like them. And so started messing with it, and I had a hard time getting the development right. And then as I started kind of analyzing the market, I started thinking, okay, let's think about this. People only ski 3 or 4 months out of the year. How many people are actually going to buy this, you know? And then it kind of just, the demographic kept getting smaller and smaller, and I figured out there's probably like 5 people in the world that were going to buy these ski poles.
Oh wait, I have to interrupt. How many of you guys have gone through and looked at your demographic and like whittled it down as part of your startup analysis? Raise your hands. No, really. Talk them through this process because I thought you were questioning and whittling it down. You guys will totally relate to this.
This is non-scientific, but it's something that everyone needs to do. I'm glad you interrupted me here, because it's really important to understand what your demographic is. Sometimes it's something that you're really into and you think the rest of the world's into it. Like, I love to ski, and I was like, everybody loves to ski. And then you start talking to people, it's like, I've never been skiing in my life, and nor do I have interest in skiing, and why would you do that? Why would you take a stick down the hill? You know, and you start thinking through those things. And like I said, it really opened my eyes, because I honestly thought this was a million idea. Side note, about a month after I launched Proof, there was a company called Panda Poles that launched bamboo ski poles. So someone has that million idea. I don't know how they're doing, but they did launch that after us. But I think that it's really important to go through that analysis and try to understand what your demographic is. And I mean, you were talking about people budgeting and being ready to financially prepare. I just heard an article, or I heard something on the radio talking about millennials are not saving. They don't see the value in 401ks. And other people say, you know, that's led to long-term wealth for me because I invested my 401k early. My grandpa died and, you know, gave me a bunch of money, and I put $1,000 into the stock market. I kept continuing to do that once I got an official job. Millennials don't see the value in that. They've gone through the financial crisis and they said, I'm not going to give my money to the bank. The banks are evil, and I'm not going to put it in a 401k. I'm going to put it under my mattress, and I'm going to, you know, go buy a skateboard with it, and life is good. And so I think understanding that demographic, I mean, to me that was shocking. You know, I think they said 80% of women under the age of 20 didn't see the value in investing in a 401k, which, wow, I mean, there's a business right there. So I think it's really cool what you're doing. So understanding your demographic and having that breakdown is really important. And so basically got through all that and said, this is a crappy idea, you know, like, so kind of put that to the side, and plus it didn't really work real well, and there's better options out there. No one wants to pay $100 for a bamboo ski pole. It doesn't work. So I liked the medium of wood, and I kept on, you know, working with it. And one day I saw a pair of antique reading glasses from like 19th century Japan that were made out of 2 sticks of bamboo, and they were kind of strung together. They had the lenses inside. And I thought, man, that's kind of cool. Like, they were hideous, but I thought, you know, if you could figure out a way to do sunglasses, like something that people use on a regular basis, why wouldn't that work? So started tooling around with it, got the tools out, and got some, you know, sunglasses from the corner store, the gas station, basically. Popped the lenses out, cut them around, and made the most hideous pair of glasses ever. But I was so stoked on them. I wore them all around town, and they're huge, and my brothers were like, what are you doing? You know, this is horrible, it's so embarrassing. I'm like, these are my wood sunglasses. And they were really bad. So we finally started perfecting it and improving it. We were making them in the garage, and people started seeing them and said, hey, this is kind of cool. Like, you know, can I buy a pair for my family? Or, you know, I got Christmas coming up, can I buy 5 pairs? And so we were basically selling to friends and family, and people kind of started seeing them. At that point we said, maybe we should develop a website. So started the website, and I guess backtracking a little bit on this. How many people, does anybody work at HP here? Or, oh man, this might get me in trouble. This story might get me a little bit in trouble. So I was doing the bamboo ski poles thing, and I was trying to figure out how to finance this thing. That's, you know, how do you get capital, right? And that's how many people are looking for capital right now? Anybody have a rich uncle or something I can talk to? Because, yeah, so it's hard to find money, right? I mean, that's one of the hardest things, to prove your concept, get the money, get the people, the professionals to help you build your business. And so I was online, I was reading an article in the Huffington Post, and there was this little pop-up on the side that said, Do Amazing, sponsored by Hewlett-Packard and the Huffington Post. So I click on it, I'm like, what is this? And it's basically, tell us what you would do to do amazing, and you could win a bunch of HP product and you know, an opportunity to get promoted on HP and the Huffington Post. I'm like, well, that's cool, you know. And this time I basically had the samples and hadn't really started. I had this idea, and so my idea was, I want to create a company that gives back, that does more than just like the t-shirt company, right? That does more than just, it looks for bottom line profits, because I've been working in the nonprofit world, and I kind of came up through that, and I really liked that option. But one of the hardest things about working in a nonprofit is finding money, right? And so we were always out begging for money and trying to find fundraising and things like that. So I sent in my pitch. My pitch was, I want to start a wood sunglass company that's eco-friendly, and that gives back a portion of the sales to an eye clinic in India. And so I read about this eye clinic in my grad program, and really cool story. I won't get into the story, but if you get a chance, go out and Google the Arvind Eye Clinic and Dr. V. And it's a really inspiring story about this guy that started this eye clinic, basically providing surgeries. It's a Harvard business case, and that's the first time I heard about it. I went back and read the book, Infinite Vision, if you get a chance to go out and read that. And was just inspired by this guy. And so I said, I've got to figure out a way to give back to this organization because I was just so inspired by it. And this is when I was in grad school. This is fast forward 8 years later, and I'm still have this idea of the Arvind Eye Clinic. So basically, they provide surgeries, sight-giving surgeries to people that can't afford them, and they have kind of a sliding scale. So if you can afford them, you kind of help pay for the people that can't. If you can't afford them, they don't turn you away. And they're profitable, and it's really, I don't know, I can go on and on about them. But the idea was basically the pitch with Hewlett-Packard and Do Amazing. I was like, I could do amazing, I'm kind of an amazing guy. And so my pitch was, I want to start a sunglass company, I want to give back to the Arvind Eye Clinic. And so I turned it in, sent in the information, and at this point I had like a couple samples, like no real business plan, nothing. I mean, it was just the samples and the idea. And so I sent it in, and about a month later I get an email back, and they're like, hey, congratulations, you've won $50,000 worth of Hewlett-Packard computer equipment. I'm like, not too shabby. And so I was really excited about it, but at the same time I was like, what am I going to do with $50,000 of laptops? Like, awesome and a huge problem, And so I brought my brothers in. I said, hey, I need help. You want a free computer? I got one, and I'll give you free laptops and some tablets and some Beats headphones from the Hewlett-Packard store, and we're off to the races. And so I said, let's start this business and see what we could do. So we took some of the computer equipment, and this is where I might get in trouble with Hewlett-Packard, so don't tell the big guys, okay? I sold about half of the Hewlett-Packard product on eBay, and with that money, we went over to Asia and we took the samples over and basically developed our first manufacturer and bought our first $20,000 of inventory of sunglasses without any sales, without any real marketing, but said, hey, we're gonna go out and do this. So that's kind of the start.
That's awesome, though. I love it. Okay, so fast forward. He's going to his first show, and he's setting up a booth. And talk to us about the prep work going into that first show, and then you show up and you kind of look really legit because he's got all this sweet equipment.
Yeah.
So hustling beforehand, and then the show. What happens?
So we right before the show, we didn't really have any marketing. We didn't have any money for marketing. And there was a big concert in town here in Boise that the radio station was putting on. And I was like, we need to get some people wearing these and get some pictures and stuff so we have some marketing. And so, anybody familiar with Bubba Sparks? I heard he was in town last night. Booty, 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 rocking everywhere. Yeah, were you there? Oh my goodness. I didn't even get an invite. I'm so jealous right now. So anyways, Bubba Sparks was huge when I was in high school, and I kind of like this guy. So he's a hip hop artist, kind of washed up, and he's kind of making a comeback, I think, right now. And there's a bunch of other artists there. So I was on Twitter and trying to contact these guys, and they don't really write you back, interestingly enough. And so I finally got a hold of his manager, and his manager was like, yeah, we're down at the Grove Hotel, come on down, and we'll get Bubba a pair of sunglasses. And so I got there, Bubba's not there, the manager's there, and I said, hey, I want to give these to Bubba, and it'd be great to get a picture with him. And he's like, how about you come to the show tonight? You got tickets? And I was, yeah, I actually won tickets on the radio. He's like, I'm going to get you backstage passes. So basically, he got us backstage, and it was multiple artists at this thing. And so I have a duffel bag full of sunglasses. And I'm just like, hey, I've heard your song, and like, hey, can I get a picture? And so we basically went to the show with like 10 or 15 pictures of like the New Boys and Dev and a bunch of these, the artists at the time that had hot songs on the radio. And then we go to the show, and we basically did our booth like to the nines. Most people kind of keep it really stagnant and like, hey, it's white, and here's the rack of clothes. We went in and put like logs in it, and wood paneling, and sawdust all over the floor. People would come in our booth, and there'd be sawdust like going down the aisle on the carpet. The poor lady was coming down and vacuuming behind. It was kind of a mess, but people like came in, and we got our packaging on point and all these things. And people were like, oh yeah, I've seen this brand before. We're like, really? And they're like, yeah, you guys have been around for a while, right? And we're like, a month? Maybe 2? And so it was kind of a funny deal because we had this presence and people thought we were so legit that we'd been around the industry for a long time. And so we went to the biggest show, accessory show, clothing show, Magic in Vegas. They do it twice a year, and people come from all over the world to come to the show. And we just had all these people coming in the booth. And before the show started, we talked to the guy across the hall, and he's selling t-shirts, kind of like, funny t-shirts to Urban Outfitters and a lot of big brands. And so he's like, hey, let me tell you how this works. You come to the show, you got to build your brand presence. You might have to come to 5 shows before you even write your first order. And it took me a long time, and and so we didn't even know we had to bring like an order form. We just showed up, and he's like, hey, did you bring an order form? We're like, order form? Like, how are you gonna fill out orders, guys? So we went down to Staples and bought this like, triple carbon copy thing, and we're filling orders. So the show starts, and at one point in the show, I look around, and one of my brothers was talking to an interpreter for a company out of Korea and an interpreter for a company out of France. And so the interpreters are interpreting for these 2 buyers, and my brother's telling them about the line and all this stuff. And my other brother's talking to the buyer from Nordstrom's. And I'm like, dude, we're in our garage still. Like, they have no clue we're in our garage, And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna write an order, and $3,000 order. And I'm like, this is crazy. And so we basically left the show, and that right after we finished, that guy across the hall that was kind of mentoring us said, I looked over at him during one point in the show, and he was just like, what is going on? Like, this is crazy. And so after the show, he came over and introduced me to his girlfriend and said, my girlfriend's got a shop in downtown San Francisco, and I've seen you guys just killing it all show. I told her she's got to place an order with you guys. So she was one of our very first shops. So we ended up writing 12 orders of that show, and at that point we're like, we've made it. We've got these shops, and we're talking to all these people. And from there, it kind of kept growing, and we grew our online sales, and kind of felt like we were in a good place. So
one of the things I liked, because my first question was, how did you get so much traction at your booth? Because I thought, okay, the glasses are just cool, which is, but he worked his tail off beforehand. Do you want to tell him what you were doing?
Yeah, so we really utilize social media quite a bit, and so we were like, it was kind of before Instagram got big. We were on Twitter and Facebook, and we were hitting up these buyers that we knew, and we're like basically spamming them with our links and stuff. And then we were kind of making connects with other people. We go into a store and we're like, who's the buyer for this? And so we started making these connects. And we got this huge email list, but it was not something you could go out and just buy and find. It was like we just picked them up and started adding it to our spreadsheet. And then we sent out these emails like, hey, we're going to be at the booth, and here's our booth number. Come by and say hi, and come check out the new stuff. And we got wood sunglasses, and people are like, oh, wood sunglasses, I guess might as well go check it out. And so as the show was going on, it just kind of perpetuated, because one buyer would come by and they'd tell their friend, I've got a shop in California. Hey, you got that shop in Florida. These guys, this stuff would kill it in Florida. So we have, hey, my buddy told me to come over and check. This is really cool. Let me write an order. And it was just like, this is easy, man. Why didn't we do this before? And so it was kind of like we hustled really hard ahead of time in order to set ourselves up for success. And it's one of those things that I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of people say, like, how'd you get here? How'd you do this? And I mean, at the first you got to hustle. A lot of people, I talk to people and say, I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen, and some money's I'm sure going to come around. And it's like, you got to go out and knock doors, whatever your business is. I don't care if it's accessories, I don't care if it's tech. You've got to prove yourself, time and time again, that you've got a cool product, pitch the features and benefits, and let people know why they can't live without it. And so we did that from the very beginning. And so it was like, hey, with sunglasses, never seen those before, right? Cool, come in, we'll show them to you, and eco-friendly. So when we first went in, talking about, one of the things is demographic, getting back to your demographic. So my younger brother's in the business with me, and they're younger than I am by, my youngest brother is about almost 8 years younger than me. And so we said, what's our demographic? And he was like, cool kid, like into like outdoor sports, drinks a Red Bull, and just into cool stuff, extreme sports. And it's like, okay. And I'm a little older. It's like, I don't drink Red Bull, and I don't jump off mountains, without a bungee cord. And so it was kind of like, really. And so we started kind of mixing the demographic, and we came with this demographic that we thought was broad enough, but was also focused. Because I went to grad school, and it's like, find out your demographic and make sure you focus on demographic. Don't try to be all things to all people. And we went to so this demographic was like male, 17 to 32, basically. And we go to the show, and we had these ladies, housewives of Atlanta, coming in to have their boutiques, and they're selling shishi, diamond encrusted necklaces to your cat, and they're like, these would do great in the boutique. Yeah, let's get these. And then they sign an order, and we're like, what? You're not our demographic. And so we're trying to man, maybe we don't want them in there, And so we were trying to figure it out, and then we'd have a hip hop guy come in, oh, this reminds me of the wood grain on my ride. I gotta have these. And then we had, housewives, and we had hipsters coming in, and so people say, what's your demographic? And I always say, hip hoppers, hipsters, housewives, and anything else that starts with an H. And so it was kind of a funny deal. So after the show, it really and that's one of those things, how do you get out there and try your business and try to test out your product or your demographic, whatever. You might be totally wrong. We were totally wrong. And I'm really big into fail fast, fail cheap, and fail often, because you learn from that. So the show, basically, we took all the profits at that point that we'd made. It was like $7,000 to go down to the show and buy a booth. And I said, we're going to the show. And we've got all this inventory, we got to sell it. So we got to go to the show and do it. If not, we'll just sell it on the website and get rid of it. So through the show, I mean, it was a $7,000 education from the standpoint that we learned we need to adjust our demographic, we need to adjust our messaging a little bit, and we also picked up orders on the way, so it definitely paid for itself going to the show. I mean, we wrote 12 orders, and they were all over like $1,500 or more, and I was like, okay, this makes sense. So I'm really big in getting out there and trying things just to kind of see if they work, even in your marketing campaigns, your social media, see what works, see what doesn't, and do it quickly and decide, okay, if that doesn't work, retract, and try something else that, another path or another avenue that might work.
That's awesome. So fast forward, after this point, you were on Shark Tank. So I'm going to fast forward through like the process of getting on there, and now you're on there, and talk us through, okay, the hustling behind the scenes, because you're still signing clients and you're still signing contracts, and you're on Shark Tank. So talk us through like that moment.
So did you guys see the Shark Tank episode? Anybody Shark Tank fans? Did you see it? All right, this guy is. Show up wearing a tie. I love this guy right here. I feel underdressed. So we went on Shark Tank, and real quick, my brother Tanner, that managed the operations, I was like, hey, there's a show Shark Tank. He's like, we don't want to go on. We don't have time. We're going to Germany. We got this first show internationally, and the state of Idaho had helped pulled matching funds to help us do the export council to help us pull money together to go out and do this. And so we're like, we got to make sure we kill it and have a good return on that investment for the state of Idaho and for the company. And I don't have time to do this, and if you want to do it, just sign up for it. So we had this video we had to turn in, and he was like not into it. And so the whole thing is like, be your best personality, and like we want to see how you be on TV and how you look on camera. And so there's me, and like I'm pretty loud and obnoxious anyways, and trying to do the pitch, and hey, I'm Brooks, and we have this wood sunglass company, it's really cool. And my brother Taylor's kind of the same way, and then my brother Tanner's like, hey, my name's Tanner, and I manage the operations here, and we make wood sunglasses, and it's pretty cool. So check us out. And it was like, I wanted to strangle the kid, because like he just wasn't into it, and I'm like, this is our chance to like, do something. So anyways, even with that video and Tanner's appearance, we got accepted, went through the process, and they said, hey, come down to California and come down and shoot an episode, and we'll see what happens. And so we went down there, and we had a few days ahead of time. So we were practicing our pitch, and basically the only thing they do, a lot of people ask about the process, basically the only thing they really coach you on is what you want to ask for and what your pitch is, and refine your pitch so you don't get up there and stumble. So we were basically had this pitch memorized, and we each had a part, and okay, Taylor finished his part, I know I got to jump into my part, and Tanner jumped into his part, and it was just like clockwork, We were in the car driving around, we had a rental car, and so we said, we've got a rental car, we're in California, huge part of our market is down here in California, let's go visit our customers. So while we were down there, we went and visited PacSun. And PacSun, Tilly's, a lot of the big brands are down there. I went to PacSun, and we've been talking to them, we met them at a show, and said, hey, we want to show you the new line. And so we went to PacSun, and they're like, hey, we're ready to write an order, and we want to do something for holiday. And this is going to be a big order. Can you guys handle it? And we're like, yeah, we can handle it. No big deal. And we got the order, and it's like, this is a huge order. Like, we're going to get a loan or something. And so it was about so it all kind of coincided with Shark Tank. And so we're like, we need some money from the sharks just to make this order, or we're going to go to the bank, or we're going to have to figure something out. And so went to the tank, pitched, and based on the valuation, we felt, this isn't really totally fair and equitable, and we don't want to give up equity in our company, and something's kind of our baby, and we kind of decided to walk. And so as we're driving away after we pitched, like we hop in the rental car, and it was like silent for 15 minutes. And we're driving down like California, PCH, by the ocean, and everybody's kind of looking up and it's like, what just happened? Like, did we make a mistake? Maybe we should have took it, And so finally, I'm like, what we need to do right now? We need to go In-N-Out and get a hamburger. And so we went to In-N-Out, and by the time we got there, I was like, you know what, guys? Like, we hustled until we got here. We got to PacSun. They've written us an order. Like, it's gonna work out, My brother's like, I've started a couple other little businesses, and they were kind of like, geez, like this is a big deal. Like, we might like blow it here. We might lose the company. We might not be able to do this, and we lose the order PacSun, and then it's just downward spiral after that. So got the order from PacSun, came back to Boise, and said, hey, we've got to figure out how to make this thing work. And so we basically, no one took salaries for like 2 months, and we put all the money back into the company and bought more inventory and got ready for Shark Tank. So in October, they called and said, will you guys, can we come up and do a home visit? We're like, okay, yeah, sure, come on, we'd love to have you. So they came and out to Idaho and filmed at the family business, Wood Grain, and went through that process. So we said, hey, does this mean we're on the show? And they're like, no, it doesn't mean anything. You know, you could be on the show, you could be not. We had like $1 million gag order, so we filmed in August, and the show didn't air until February. So we had we couldn't tell anybody like the results or what happened, and people were like, you got a deal, right? It was with Cube, and I know it. And it's like, I don't know, can't tell you. You got $1 million bucks, and maybe I can tell you. So we couldn't say anything. I mean, they have you sign stacks of papers and have lawyers and stuff. And so we were basically waiting for February. We didn't know when it was going to air. So 2 weeks before the show aired, they called and said, hey, here's your show date. Just want to let you know. And so at that point, we were ready. We were like, hey, we got our inventory online, and everything's ready to go. And our website's up to par. We switched over to a different server because we heard some other people that have been on Shark Tank, their websites crashed. So we go on, and we actually watched one of the professors let us come down to BSU, and we had 2 screens, and the show was going. And during the show, it was really cool because we had kind of a Q&A, and so we had friends and family there and some BSU students, and so they were asking kind of what happened during the process, and we watched the other episodes, and we were the very last segment of the show. And we didn't know how it was going to turn out. We didn't know if they'd make us look goofy or look like idiots, or if they were going to kind of present it well, or you know. So we were really kind of nervous. Are they going to make us look like we're after a bunch of money? Because, I mean, we filmed for about an hour and a half with the sharks. There was a lot of good sound bites and things, and they cut it down to like 10, 15 minutes. And so we really didn't know how it was going to shake out. And so we're there, and our web guy's there, and as the show's going, we're like, how are our web sales? And it's like, we have 1,000 people on the site right now, 20,000 people on the site. And we're like, we're killing it, this is awesome. And all of a sudden, our website guy's face just goes white. And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, the website's down. And we hadn't even aired yet, right? So we're Mountain Time, East Coast had aired, Central had aired, and we hadn't been here. The show started and our website's down in Mountain Time, and like we even rolled to Pacific Time, you know, so we're like, this is horrible. Our site's down, and we're about to air Mountain Time in our home time zone, and no one's gonna be able to order stuff. And so we're on the phone talking to the servers and trying to get everything going. Long story short, the website was down for 2 days. And we called the server company, we're really sorry, we're going to refund your money, and really apologize for that, you know. Sorry about the issues. You know, call customer service, yeah, I was on the phone until 4 o'clock in the morning with them trying to figure it out. So anyways, we were kind of bummed about the whole thing. And that whole time we're hustling too. I mean, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're answering emails. We had other people saying, hey, I want to invest in you. We had people saying, hey, I can't get on your website. So we were really focused on, hey, we got to focus on the customer and try to make sure they understand where we're coming from. People are really understanding. So 2 days later, the website's up. We finally get the results back of how many hits we had on our website. We had 1.4 million hits in 48 hours on our website. Previous to that, we had 600 to 800 unique visitors in a day, maybe. So it was nuts, like the amount of traffic. And we kind of talked to some other people, and they said this is more traffic than most companies that go on Shark Tank could have. And so we'd gone with a company that we thought, you know, was prepared, and they said we've just never seen it, we weren't prepared, and we were trying to put it on other servers, and sorry, it crashed. So we feel like we missed out on some opportunities there, but it was kind of a good, another learning experience, and to continue to stay with it, not just, you know, okay, it is what it is. So
That's awesome. So we are getting close to time. So I want to turn it over to Q&A. So be thinking for a while. But first, I want to know how many of you guys are in somewhat of a beta stage with your companies? Yeah, no, really. My question would be rapid experimenting, shifting with customers, and stuff like that. So do any of you guys have those kind of questions for Brooks while he's up here? No, you have other questions. Okay, we'll just shoot any topic, any questions.
Well, you were talking about hustling and whatnot. For me, I have to kind of demonstrate my product at woodworking stores like Woodcraft. There weren't many of them around. How do you justify spending, you said $7 grand to go down to a show? There's no way I would make $7 grand in sales at one show.
you never know, you never know. I didn't think we were going to sell more than 10 pairs of glasses, and you know, we've sold thousands of pairs of glasses. I think one of the things you can do, there's a lot of ways to get out there. I mean, video, pictures, photography. So like I said, we just went out and contacted, we found who the buyers were, contacted different stores, go out and find with the family business, we're selling wood dowels to Michael's. We'd never done that before, Michael's craft stores, and it was just going out and finding a contact and saying, wood dowels, like the long wood, that I think people make popsicles out of them and stuff at the craft store. I mean, it's stuff that we never thought about. We were selling them to Home Depot, and I'm like, man, there's tons of them at the craft store. I went to the craft store with my wife, and I was like, why shouldn't we be selling these to Michael's? And so, they're ordering 5 truckloads of wooden dowels from us now. And so I think it's one of those things, there's opportunities to go out there and figure out how to demonstrate it. A lot of time, visual is really good. I mean, we do a ton of videos, we do a ton of photography.
Will you tell them your photography and your video angles?
Yeah, so one of the things that we did is, originally we did a lot of stuff in-house and we had to do it ourselves, and my wife's a photographer and she did some of it, and my brother's wife does videography, and so she did some of it. But then as we've kind of grown, we created something called the Frontier Project, and so basically we have photographers start approaching us and say, hey, I want to do a shoot with you guys. And I was like, well, you want to shoot with us? That's really cool, So it started out local, and then it started going around the country, and then it started going international. And so we kind of gave them incentive, like so we give them, 4-person sunglasses, go to wherever your style, we don't care what it is, shoot your style at the location with your models, whatever you want to do, and then send it. All we want is the images back, and we'll do a write-up on you, so you get some press, we get the photography, and instead of going out and paying for a ton of money for lookbooks and videos and to go find models and spend the time to do that. Originally we had to do that, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and money, and a lot of people volunteer time for it, but it takes a lot when you're trying to run a business, right? And so we basically kind of said, hey, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours, and it's been a good experience. Yeah, it's a win-win deal.
So almost just a follow-up. So you prepared really well and worked hard to get ready for that first show in Vegas. Can you give me a perspective of how much time you put in on the calendar? Were you looking for those buyers for the week before the show, or 6 months, or a year?
Oh, well, I mean, by the time we started, we were only about 2 months in. So we had about a month, but it was like, I was working my day job, and I go home at night and just start pulling, lists and contacts, and, it'd be the buyer, or, sometimes it's just the Twitter feed for something to say, hey, come by, or you'd go back and look at previous shows where they'd hashtag something. I mean, I got really, really into Twitter for a while. Too much, to the fact that it was just like my fingers hurt, because I was like, I found this guy. And, but yeah, we spent not a whole lot of time, but sometimes I think as entrepreneurs you say, your idea is genius, right? You go in and say, this is a great idea. And no one else knows it. And how do you broadcast it out there? And there's so much noise and static out there too, because everybody's got a great idea. And how do you rise above that and say, this is a really, really good idea? And some of it's luck, and a lot of it's hustle. I think Benjamin Franklin says the harder I work, the luckier I get, something like that. And I really believe that, because the harder we've worked and the more we've hustled, none of it's really fallen in our lap. There's stuff that's been lucky, but a lot of it's just been going out and grinding every day. So,
would you agree you probably got more bang from your buck doing a show than trying to schlep around to, building to building, because you had all your buyers in one area?
Yeah, the show for us was kind of that initial like, hey, we've got something, and it was kind of the R&D, because the only R&D we'd had before that was family and friends, and your mom's going to say you've got a great product and you're really cute, right? And so my mom was like, oh, these are great. My dad actually, it was in the wood business, he's like, this is a stupid idea. This is wood sunglasses, anybody really going to do this? And it's hilarious now, because we're in the wood business. My dad, came in and said, hey, I want to buy some wholesale from you, bought like 50 pairs. And he keeps them in his desk, and when people come in now, like customers and stuff, he's like, hey, I want to give you these proof sunglasses, they're really cool, and it's like, weren't you the guy at the dinner table who was saying this was a stupid idea? So it's really funny, and so that's one of the things too that, as entrepreneurs, if you really believe in your idea, listen to the feedback, but also, don't let people deter you from what you want to do. Because if your own dad's saying, hey, it's a dumb idea, it gave me pause. It's like, maybe this is a waste of time, and maybe we should try something else. But it started taking off, and it was like, and then he kind of started seeing like, hey, like, this is kind of cool. You guys are doing something. Hey, you're making a little money. Like, hey, this is kind of fun. So, yeah, I think stick with it, But I do like the idea of going down and trying something R&D. But I also think there's a lot of ways, because a lot of people say, hey, I need a ton of capital to go out and do something. We didn't have any. We bootstrapped a lot of stuff. And so, like I said, our first $7 or $8 grand that we made on the website sales, we took all that money and we dumped it into things. It was just kind of a gamble. We just doubled down. We just kept on doubling down on things. Like, hey, let's buy more inventory. Shark Tank, we didn't know if it was going to be a bust. We thought maybe the sharks would make us look funny and people would be like, what a stupid product or something. And maybe we wouldn't sell any. We said, we're going to double down on our inventory, bring more inventory in for Shark Tank and roll that dice and hopefully it works and we don't go broke in the process. So there's some gambles that we took in the process, but I don't like to tell people that you have to do a certain way, or the industry's changing and the world's getting so much smaller with information. And so there's so many opportunities to look at other things besides trade shows. I think trade shows are great. Sometimes it's hard to find a niche. We've been to trade shows where we thought we had this really good niche, like a streetwear trade show, and we're like, we're gonna write a ton of orders, and we didn't write a single order at the trade show, and it's like, okay, we're not going back to that one. That was, trial and error, and say goodbye to that, and we'll just chalk it up to marketing and, try something else, so.
What was the most intimidating feeling about being in the Shark Tank?
That's a good question. Mr. Wonderful, probably. I mean,
That was a screwed up deal.
yeah. Don't let the name fool you. He's kind of intimidating. It was like we're sitting there pitching, and you're basically saying like, here's my baby, and he's saying it's ugly, but I want to invest in it. I can make it a little prettier. So he kind of talks it down and then says, hey, let me give you let me see if I can figure out how to make this work for me. So he was pretty intimidating. I mean, we kind of thought we'd get a deal with Mark Cuban. We thought he'd be interested in, or Damon John, because the accessories and that, and both those guys were like out pretty quick, and it was like, this is not looking good. Like this might have been a mistake, and it's like, okay, Damon John's probably our first choice. He's done. Mark Cuban was the first one out, and we just thought, he had the cool, and everybody wants to go with Mark Cuban because it's like, he owns the Mavs, you probably get a game out of it or something. And so he was out, and it's like, at that point, to be honest, it was kind of a confidence drop. It was because we felt really confident going in, and those two were out, and those were our 1 and 2 choices, and it was like, this isn't good. So that was pretty intimidating.
Where do you consider yourself in the hockey stick at this point, and what are your intentions or your plans moving forward to continue to scale?
That's a great question. We get a lot of questions like this because I went to business school, right? And business school is great, but I have a lot of friends who got into school and started businesses, and it was all about the harvest. So how do we grow something and harvest it and sell it? And my whole thing is we're big into giving back, and that's a big portion of what we do. We opened 2 eye clinics in India with the profits from our sunglasses. And so if we sell off or something like that, we don't know if that's going to continue, and we can't really control that. So we really like to have control of what we're doing, but we're also always looking for opportunities. On the hockey stick, I don't know. I mean, is it infinite? I mean, how many? I don't know how many pairs of sunglasses do you need? And how many people want to buy sunglasses? And so we started with sunglasses, and one of the big things we're getting into now we're getting into prescription glasses. So I talked to an Oakley rep the other day, and I says, what do you guys do on your sunglasses? He's for the eastern side. He said, basically 1/4 of our sales is sunglasses, and the other is optical. We sell more optical and we sell more clothing than we do sunglasses today. And so it was like, okay. So you talk about where you are on that arch. So we kind of like, we're gaining ground, we're gaining some brand recognition, and so we've got some growth and some opportunities. We've been approached by some of the big sunglass manufacturers. If you understand the sunglass world, there's some players that pretty much own everything. They own Ray-Ban, they own Oakley, and they've approached us about doing something. And we've kind of said, let us grow and let us see what it is. And they said, that's cool. We'll follow you and let's keep talking. And so we kind of feel like we're early on in the opportunities. And you get into optical, it's a whole new world. It's a whole new demographic. It's a whole new marketing campaign. But we feel like we've got something that's kind of different and original. We claim to be the most eco-friendly eyewear line in the world, from the standpoint that we do wood. All our acetate is cotton-based and biodegradable, and so that's kind of our story and our pitch. And we give back, and we want to kind of continue to stay involved in it because we think story for me is a big thing. I think that if you have a story, I mean, talking about, hey, I was in debt when I came out of college and I figured out this plan and it worked for me, and why doesn't this not work? And Rocky's got a cool story. If you get a chance to chat with him about what his life and his story, to me is huge. If you can tell a story, a lot of times that's kind of the feature and benefit of the product. Sometimes people buy into the story more so than the product. Why do people go out and buy Harley Davidsons? I love Harleys. They're super loud. They're not as efficient as some of the Japanese bikes, but they're so cool. Like they're the coolest things out there. I mean, you can't buy a cooler bike. And so there's a lot of that, and why is it cool? I went to the Harley Museum in Milwaukee, went through it, and I was like, this is an American success story. They went through bankruptcy. I want a Harley. I don't want to get a Honda. I want a Harley. And it's more expensive, and they're not as good, but it's just cooler, And it's because of the story. It's about understanding what that story is about. So we were really big on telling our stories, telling the story about giving back, telling the story about we were in the garage and have grown it from there. So that's kind of, I think story is huge when it comes to your product, whatever it is. I think that people sometimes buy into people more so than the product. And so telling your story and not just saying features and benefits and here's the product, but this is what I'm about and this is what we had to do to get here without, getting into all the nitty gritty. I think people really appreciate the story, and a lot of times people buy into people.
Well, and also a lot of companies that are looking for investing are now like hiring storytellers. That's like a huge industry right now.
So I call our marketing director our head storyteller, because I said your job is just to tell stories. Whether it's a small photo shoot and we're trying to tell a story there. We actually have a pair of glasses called the Ivory. So my younger brother, Tanner, I might get kind of emotional here, I apologize. Him and his wife had a daughter that passed away, and so we named a pair of our glasses the Ivory after her. So she was only around for a couple of days and passed away. And so not many people know the story. We haven't really gone out and said, hey, here's the story around it. But we wanted to do like a little something to honor her and her life. And so to me, it's sometimes it's some of those stories that are just intercompany stories. It's not about broadcasting them, and that's kind of like a private family story, right? But for us, it's really excuse me, I don't mean to get emotional. But for us, it's kind of a personal family story that's important to us. And so storytelling is huge. I think from the standpoint of telling your story and making sure that people understand that story and that they have. And I believe that you write your own story too, and you write your own chapter. If you don't like the way the story's going, turn the page and change the chapter. If things aren't going good in the business or you need to reset, write a new chapter. And you're your own author at this point. And so I really believe, story. I don't know. There's a lot of ties to me with story, so apologize for getting emotional. But storytelling is big, I guess, is the message to leave with tonight. The violin's out or something. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into a tear fest. I apologize.
When you were first, you had no money and you're trying to make it to that first show, what did you find that was most beneficial for you guys to making sales and getting your kind of name out?
I think it comes back to social media. I mean, I built our first website and it was crappy. Like, it didn't work really well. We just revamped our website and all of a sudden our sales jumped up. We've revamped it twice, but this is the third iteration of it. And it's crazy what a good website will do. And if you'll spend a lot of money on it. I was kind of like, don't spend the money on it. And at that point, we were making money, and it's like, my brother said, think about this. A new website is $5,000. How many pairs of sunglasses do we have to sell? And I was like, okay. How long would it take to sell this? I don't know, 2 days, a day, I don't know. Exactly. So in a day, we'll have the website paid for. It'll be way better. In the first week, it was like one of those things that was like, hey, I told you so. It was like $20,000 on the website. So it just paid for itself so quickly. And so I developed the first website, but we did a lot with social media. So we'd go out there and try to find like-minded brands and kind of comment on stuff and say, hey, check this out. We did a lot of collaborations with smaller brands, and it kind of grew to bigger and bigger brands. So like we're doing a giveaway right now with Goal Zero, the solar company that does solar stuff for personal solar devices, so you can charge your devices and laptops and phones and stuff like that. So that's the one we probably would have tried to approach back in the day, but they said, who are you guys? And now it's got to the point where we've got a little bit of brand recognition and they like what we're doing. They're about eco-friendly, same brand message. So trying to combine with like-minded brands to say, hey, let's do a giveaway. We'll give away a pair of glasses, you give away this, and we'll both promote it and kind of grow a following. And so the first sales, the first day we set up our website, we had like 6 sales. And I think they're all from my mom, or maybe my grandma, but we had people like, I don't even know who this person is. And then we had our first international sale, and so I wasn't going to work every day. And then I'd come home at night, package all this stuff up, and then put the labels on it, and during my lunch break, I'd ship it out. So the mail lady, the first day was like, hey, what do you got, an eBay business? And I said, no, I got a sunglass business. Like, oh, cool, good for you. And then I started bringing in these like boxes, huge box full of sunglasses, and she's like, you've got like 40 something. Is this all sunglasses still? Are you selling drugs? You know, and it was like, still sunglasses. And so it was kind of funny because the mail lady was like watching the progression, and she's like, you guys are doing really well. So it started out as like, hey, it's my little eBay business, really cute for you guys, you know. And then it kind of like grew, and they got the point. It's like, okay, we need to figure out how to print our own labels and speed this process up, and it kind of developed from there. But I think just getting out there and trying to talk with like-minded brands. Sometimes I think we get in our I was this way a little bit. Like, I'd be jealous of other brands that like start blowing up on things, or companies or entrepreneurs. I'd be like, man, like that's such a stupid idea, and that guy made like $1 million, you know. And I kind of changed my mind frame on it, because really, it's like if someone else is successful, like we should celebrate that success. And I'm real big on how do we grow success here in Boise? How do we grow successful brands? How do we grow successful apps? How do we grow successful businesses here in Boise, and really around the world? But this is my hometown, and I want to see it grow. And so, I think spending time worrying about what other people are doing and saying, oh, geez, that's a waste of time. Celebrating people's success and sharing in their success and learning from them and growing is huge to me. So I'm really big on, if I can mentor people, if I can cheer someone on and pat them on the back for doing a good job, that's gravy for me. I love seeing that. I love seeing people be successful. We were talking about Booklamp. If you guys know Booklamp, sold to Apple this week or last week or whatever. It's like, that's probably...
Hear it for Booklamp.
Yeah. So Boise grown company, started in the water cooler, and I mean, success story, right? I mean, sell to Apple, that's got to be a pretty good deal, right? So that's the thing. I think we just got to figure out how do we bind together as entrepreneurs and as companies and as startups and business people to help each other out. Because I find a lot of times you start talking to someone and they know a lot more information about something that you don't. Like when I started the website, I built it by myself. All of a sudden I met a web developer, and now he works for me, and it's like, hey, your website's really crappy. It's like, thanks, I built it. It's like, oh, I could help you redo that. So ended up, now he's an employee. So I think making sure that sometimes you get so caught up in your bubble and what you're doing, and like, I got to focus on this and I got to grind on this, that you don't get out. And so I think opportunities like this are really important to network and get out there. But you also have to hustle. I think a lot of people say, well, I've been networking a lot and I show up to these things and I work really hard, but nothing's really coming. So I think getting out there and hustling is something that you just got to do as an entrepreneur. Like, you just constantly got to do it. I mean, we feel like, I remember my buddy sent me a message. Snoop Dogg was wearing her glasses, and it was like, Snoop Dogg's wearing your glasses, and then Beyonce's wearing your glasses, and I get these messages from friends that I hadn't heard from in a long time, like on Facebook from high school or whatever, and they'd be like, you made it! Beyonce's wearing your glasses, and it's like, I've got like, I just bought like $70,000 worth of sunglass inventory. It's like, I just, I don't have gas to put in my car right now, Yeah, I feel like I've made it. It feels real good that, I'm glad Beyonce's body's too bootylicious for my glasses, but I don't have, and so it's one of those things that you're constantly trying to evolve and push, and you've just got to, continue to grind to be successful, I think.
Okay, so we're out of time, but we can talk in a second. How many numbers are on there?
48.
48, okay. Right, so I'm bad. Oh, thanks, okay. Okay, I'm gonna let you do the honors.
Okay.
You wanna pick a number?
Is it the number in here? On the bottom, okay. Yeah, I can pick a number. Okay, it's just in my head?
I say Brooks just pick.
What's...
Fine, we haven't seen the list. Oh, what's that?
We need a few minutes.
Oh, so not everybody, okay.
One more question.
All right, Hustle, one more question.
You've been talking about purchasing inventory. I take that means you're outsourcing all your manufacturing?
We do it today. So we started the garage, and basically we were making them by hand. It got to the point where we started getting orders, and it was like, there's no way we can do this. So we partnered with a manufacturer in Asia, kind of a family-owned business, mom and pop shop, and went in and visited. It was kind of cool for us because we're a family business. And a lot of people, I think there's a lot of negative to China, and I think I'd love to be American-made, but for us it just doesn't make sense, and we can't do it cost-effectively. I mean, we'd have $500 pairs of glasses, basically. But we went over to China and made this contact, and we got into the shop, and it was basically like a wood shop that was making wooden souvenirs for people, with like Chinese script on them and things out of bamboo. And we said, this is kind of a stretch, but I make these, can you basically duplicate? And they're like, sure.
You just found them.
Yeah, so we kind of hustled and tried to go out there, and like made a lot of contacts and said, hey, and then, so someone basically said, hey, here's this wood manufacturer, it's kind of down this alley, And I was telling someone about this. When we first went, this guy picked us up at the bus station, and he picked us with a beat up like knockoff Mitsubishi. It wasn't even a Mitsubishi, it was a Chinese version of a Mitsubishi man, and it had like the fake Mitsubishi logo on it. Like, it was horrible. And I also didn't know if we were going to hop in. He had an interpreter, he doesn't speak any English. So this interpreter's like, welcome to China, and we're like, great, let's go. And so we get in this van, and he shows us the factory we go through, and he's like, oh, that's my aunt, this is my cousin, this is my brother, my wife manages this, and we're like, hey, you're a family business. And he's like, yeah, my whole family works here. And so we're like, cool, we're a family business. So it was kind of cool to make a connection across the ocean that was a family business. So fast forward to like 3 years later, Tanner was just over there in China, visited our manufacturer. Guy pulls up in a G-Wagon Mercedes and was like, I'll do dinner, And so I think he's done pretty well. And it's kind of cool because this guy was in this little, small shop, couple people, he's tripled in size, and he's basically solely manufacturing for us. And so, we have a lot of, we have that opportunity to lift other people. I mean, this guy was driving a Mitsubishi man. I mean, I wish I was driving a Mercedes. I need to figure out something's wrong about our pricing, I think, with him. But it's kind of, to me, it was kind of cool. It's like, good, success story. That's cool. Like, I'm excited for him because, he's, in 3 years, he's grown and he's doing cool things. And I feel honored to be a part of it with him, along for the ride. So it's kind of fun. So number.
No? Okay, you want to pick a number or you want to blindly point?
Are they in here? Do I draw a number or do you want,
Oh, you
okay.
have drawn? Yeah, we have. Oh, you did, we can actually draw. This is
You guys are official. I was going to say, is it 1 through 100 or
Well,
what?
we had a different strategy with the Nerf dart gun, but we didn't have enough time today, so it was really cool.
Sounds like a dangerous type thing. So, 42.
Awesome. Abel.
Abel.
Yeah. Okay, so just really quick. I just wanted to tell you thanks for coming. And this is kind of a fun story, this little piece. My husband loves wood, and so I was about a month ago in Maui, and I was thinking about you and this upcoming startup grind, and I was reading about Brooks and his history, and I loved how much you give back. I loved the beauty you see in wood, and my husband gets really excited about wood, so I'm not.
That's what people do. This guy, me, and your husband.
Oh, yeah. I clearly am not a
And the wood chair.
I'm quite good at it. Yeah, see, this is like beautiful. Have you ever seen his work? I love your work. That's really fun stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. So in Maui, one of my favorite woods is koa.
Koa, yeah.
So I went and I hauled him some wood from Maui.
Did you chop it down and everything? This is official. This is really cool. I was talking, not to belabor this, but our floor in our shop, so that was all made from pallets. And we had a lady that I went to go buy some wood for another project. And what do you do? Got me some last thing, and she said, could you use this wood? This is for my husband. And he passed away. He's a huge woodworker, and I'd be honored if you put it in your shop. And so in the shop, we've got wood that's made out of pallets from like Coca-Cola. So one of the things actually says Coca-Cola in it. We have some koa wood in there and some ash that this lady gave us that used to be her husband's. And she said, I'd be honored if you put it in your floor. And it's like on the floor, people walk on it, and it's like, this wood's too. And so we put it in the middle of the floor for this gal that, she said, if you'll do it, I'll give it to you for free. And it was like,
the Aravind stuff that you're doing out in India. And, okay, he got me a little bit choked up on the phone yesterday. I had to mute it. But my little girl has had eye surgery since she was 1. And so when he goes out to India and he's helping put all these glasses on people out there, it sounds great. You change a life and you tell the story and their life is so much better. But coming from a parent's point of view, when you put those glasses on these little babies that can't see, and you see that reaction, it is a very emotional reaction. They walk differently, and they've never seen your face. They just see blur. And I didn't realize that until we had put the glasses on her in her surgeries, that she hadn't been able to see. Here.
No, thanks,
Thank you for everything you do for our community. He is a major give back guy and helps entrepreneurs all the time. And I want to thank each one of you guys for being here tonight. And we have a bit of a tight deadline. We have to be out of here by 8 because they've been such gracious hosts. So just know that as we are leaving. But every one of you, we want to help. And I usually try to get around the room, and we didn't have time tonight, but we'll get there. And anything we can do to help you guys. I know some of you guys are looking for some employees and some skills and some networking. So, reach out. My whole team will help you guys any way we can to reach other people, and we go global. We've been calling people all over the world now to help people here in Boise. So a huge, Kevin?
Just one thing, if you would take whatever you brought into the room with you out of the room, we'd appreciate it. This is a
We are going to be invisible. We do not want them to know we're here. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for letting us use the room. And thank you, everybody, and especially Brooks. Thank you.